Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Edwardcwright here. How are you? It is January 31st. It is the last day of January 2026. Can you believe it? I really can't. I can't. How are you? Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. Uh, so today, this episode of reading is I'm still forming everything, but I'm not waiting until I have it all together, right? I was I was out having lunch, and I noticed a family where you know everybody was on their phones and iPads and everything, and I heard a child struggle reading, and some of the words they were messing up with, I was like, wow. And not in the wow, like, oh my gosh, but I was like, wow. And so I immediately asked myself, what can I do to help? And so this is the idea that came to mind, which is to read. And I was thinking about, I could do some books, some audio books and everything. And then I thought about myself and what do I spend reading that I could also benefit for our children, also for our adults, right? That we all can benefit from. And I thought about the Bible. So I grew up in church, and I grew up really reading the Bible. I remember growing up in church, and really I got comfortable reading because of church. What's going on, Dre? Dre, brother, it's good to see you. I cannot tell you, seeing you, it is bomb. So it's good to see you, brother. Welcome, brother. I am, this is a new show that I'm doing. So you all see Dre in the chat. He's a long-standing supporter. And a good brother. But back to what I was saying. So the church is where I got comfortable reading. I'll be honest, it wasn't school. It was in church where, we had opportunity to read. And we were reading the King James Version. I discovered the New Living Translation later on, maybe my late teens, maybe even I think it was about my late teens, 18, 19. But I was a child reading the King James. So, it helped us. And so in today's generation, we want to also let our kids know that reading is fun. It is enjoyable. And to do so, Dre put in a comment, most times the younger generation fear being wrong and give up. And that is so true, where our children, they just give up. And then also we live in such this microwave iPad and iPhone where it's so fast and colorful, and if it takes more than an hour, we don't want to do it. You know what? No, if it takes more than 10 minutes, now people don't want to go through the process. They just want to just automatically get there, not put in years of work, years of study, So our hope with this is to do that and to bring about a love for reading. And also, when we read the Bible and sacred books and sacred texts, we also, it should also help us see ourselves, and just become better adults, better people, better youth, all that. So, our first episode, we read Jonah I. Now, Jonah is a very short book. which is one of the reasons why I started with this book. One of the reasons. Also, it's one of my favorite books. It's a book that I kind of relate to in more ways than not. And even as I read more and more about it, there are areas in which in my life that I'm like, ooh, Ed, where are you? Why? Where are the areas in which you have not fully embraced your calling or your call? You know, so it's just great to pick up wisdom and the nuggets of wisdom from the book. Ooh, Dre, you are talking good. Dre said the level of perfectism that we have embedded in them is higher than what was placed on us. I think that's a generational thing. I think every generation is almost expected to be more. Dude, see, listen. Dre, come on. And this is why. And also, see, Dre is also saying this because Dre is a father. And this is why, especially those of us who are men, women, we love you. We honor you, of course. But for men, it's really important for us to read with our children. It's important that our kids, our youth that we have around us see us reading, see us, with the book in our hand and all. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right. Let me resize my screen again. And the whole purpose of this again, so that we can read together, and not necessarily just me reading to you, but we can read along with each other. Again, you're going to see the text on the screen so that you don't have to be like, oh, he's lying. No. We're reading together, and it's a vibe. Okay. So we want to make sure that we are integral in this effort. All right. And also, this I'm reading. Well, at least right now, we're reading the New Living Translation. Okay. Again, so we're going to review chapter 1, so that we all have a good base of what's going on, what's happening. Okay. Here we go. Jonah 1, again, review. Jonah runs from the Lord. The Lord gave this message to Jonah, son of Amittai. Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh. Announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked its people are. But Jonah got up and went into the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. He went down to the port of Joppa, and where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to Tarshish. Don't you know that you might as well go ahead and give in? you might as well go ahead and give in. Don't try to buy a ticket to go somewhere else, because you're going to end up obeying. You're going to end up doing the work anyway. So you might as well go ahead and do it. Let's all learn from Jonah. But the Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the desperate sailors shouted to their gods for help and threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. But all this time, Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold. Even when we are being disobedient, we just go to sleep. Ain't that something? We still rest even when there's a storm going on. Because even in our disobedience, we still have faith. Let me tell you something. And this is going to be the last time I say something. I need to go ahead and read. It takes faith to disobey. Because you have to believe and know that you had instructions to do one thing and you decided to do another. So you might as well go ahead and have faith to do it. Edwardcwright, you better talk to yourself. Matter of fact, Say this with me. Let's say this together. I have the faith to do it. I have the faith to do it. I have the courage to do it. Whether that is to start that business, whether that's to really be committed in that relationship, whether that's to have that hard conversation, whether that's to really have that courageous conversation, I have the faith to do it. And not just the faith alone, for we know that faith without work is what is dead. So I'm not just saying a thing, but I'm really putting some action with it. And not action to go against it, but action to agree, to walk with, to work with, to agree with. The power of agreement. Woo! All right, all right. Verse 5. Let's start at verse 5. Fearing for their lives, hold on, no. Let's start at verse 4. But the Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the desperate sailors shouted to their gods for help and threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. But all this time, Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold. So the captain went down after him. How can you sleep at a time like this? He shouted, get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will pay attention to us and spare our lives. Then the crew cast lots to see which of them had offended the gods and caused the terrible storm. When they did this, the lots identified Jonah as the culprit. Why has this awful storm come down on us? They demanded. Who are you? What is your line of work? What country are you from? What is your nationality? Jonah answered, I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. Jeez. The sailors were terrified when they heard this, for he had already told them that he was running away from the Lord. Oh, why did you do it? They groaned. And since the storm was getting worse all the time, they asked him, what should we do to you to stop this storm? Throw me into the sea, Jonah said, and it will become calm again. I know that this terrible storm is all my fault. Instead, the sailors rowed even harder to get the ship to the land. But the stormy sea was too violent for them, and they couldn't make it. Then they cried out to the Lord, Jonah's God. Oh, Lord, they pleaded. Don't make us die for this man's sin, and don't hold us responsible for his death. Oh, Lord, you have sent this storm upon him for your own good reasons. Then the sailors picked Jonah up and threw him into the raging sea. And the storm stopped at once. The sailors were awestruck by the Lord's great power, and they offered him a sacrifice and vowed to serve him. Now the Lord had arranged for a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Isn't it something that our disobedience, it doesn't stop us from claiming that we serve God? It's not. Jonah was quick to say, "I'm a Hebrew. Mm-hmm. I serve God, maker of heaven and earth." and even in our disobedience, the call in our lives, God still gets the glory. Here are the call in our lives. The men didn't just. Did you notice how they didn't just immediately throw him overboard? After Jonah said, throw me overboard, they kept on trying to row. That's what that's a reminder for us not to judge anybody. They continued to row, and then eventually they said, we're not getting anywhere, so we have to throw you overboard. They threw him overboard, and Immediately the storm stopped and they were good. And then here they come now. There, by Jonah, they end up having a relationship with God. Isn't that something? So that's what I'm saying. We might as well go ahead and obey God regardless. All right. So continue to read that. I'm not gonna go back and watch the episode 1 to really get the full review. I did all my commentary there. Now let's go ahead and get into chapter 2. All right. Chapter 2. Jonah's prayer. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from inside the fish. He said, I cried out to the Lord in my great trouble, and he answered me. I called to you from the land of the dead, and Lord, you heard me. You threw me into the ocean depths, and I sank down to the heart of the sea. The mighty waters engulfed me. I was buried beneath your wild and stormy waves. Then I said, O Lord, you have driven me from your presence, yet I will look once more toward your holy temple. I sank beneath the waves, and the waters closed over me. Seaweed wrapped itself around my head. I sank down to the very roots of the mountains. I was imprisoned in the earth, whose gates locked shut forever. But you, O Lord my God, snatched me from the jaws of death. As my life was slipping away, I remembered the Lord, and my earnest prayer went out to you and your holy temple. Those who worship false gods turn their backs on all God's mercies. But I will offer sacrifices to you with songs of praise, and I will fulfill all my vows, for my salvation comes from the Lord alone. Then the Lord ordered the fish to spit Jonah out onto the beach. Let's read it again. Let's read it again. Actually, you know what? Let's go to another translation and then come back to New Living Translation. Are you getting something from this tonight? I don't know. Already I am. Again, I hope that you are too. I really do. Let's go to the King James Version. Let's go to that good King James. All right. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly and said, I cried my reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. For thou hast cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed about. All thy billows and all thy waves passed over me. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the bottom of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. When my soul fainteth within me, I remember the Lord. And my prayer came into thee, into thine holy temple. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Let's read that again. Verse 9. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land. Oh my God! Are you getting? Listen, we're gonna read some more. Before I do commentary, I really want us to read. I want you to just read it. Let's read this English Standard Version. Let's see what it says. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the belly of the fish, saying, I called out to the Lord out of my distress, and he answered me. Out of the belly of Sheol, I cried. We're going to Google that to see what that is. And you heard my voice, for you cast me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the flood surrounded me. All your breakers and your waves passed over me. Then I said, I am driven away from your sight. Yet I shall again look upon your holy temple. The waters closed in over me to take my life. The deep surrounded me. Weeds were wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I went down, to the land whose bars closed upon me forever. Yet you brought up my life from the pit, O Lord my God. When my life was fainting away, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came to you into your holy temple. Those who pay regard to vain idols forsake their hope of steadfast love. But I, with the voice of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will pay. Salvation belongs to the Lord. And the Lord spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah out upon the dry land. We talked about, what is it? Where's his word? Out of the belly of Sheol, I cried. So, let's do a little bit of research here, okay? And we are going to see what that term means. Okay. It is the Old Testament Hebrew term for the underworld, the common dwelling place of the dead, described as a shadowy, subterranean realm of silence and darkness. Now, are you getting this? So Jonah is comparing being in the belly of the fish as a place of the dead, even though he was not dead. That's what he's comparing it to. How his act of disobedience, where it took 3 days and 3 nights of him being in the belly of the fish to get his act together. Now, before we look at Jonah and try to judge him and have an attitude, let's look at ourselves now. Have you and I been slow to obey God? Have we been disobedient and all the things? I mean, have we done that? Or it may just be me. It may just be me, but I'm almost certain that it's not. I'm certain that you've had some times in your life where you did not obey God, and there you may have been in a fish, not a literal fish, but you may have been in a situation for 3 years or 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months. Even as I'm saying this, goodness gracious, I was in a place for 3 years. Wow. I'm not saying that it was a belly, but it clearly was a different kind of place. But it's also a place where I had to get out because I was causing storms. Because I was not in proper alignment. I was not in proper formation. Ooh-wee! Good God Almighty. Jeez. Listen, ladies and gentlemen. Now, again, we're not going to be here forever. This is one of the reasons why I want to encourage us to read. Whether you're reading and I'm not being paid to promote this. You Deserve to Be Rich. Master the Inner Game of Wealth and Claim Your Future by Rashad Bilal and Troy Millens, the co-creators of Earn Your Leisure. Whether you're reading this book, and it's a great read. It's a great read. You know what? Let me just bring up, yeah. Or you may read Understanding the Purpose and Power of Men, a book for men and the women who love them by Dr. Miles Monroe. He has transitioned on. But this is a great book, great read. I've read it a few times. Or you may be reading. This is another book here. This is the Church of God in Christ Standardized Ordination and Licensure, a textbook. I've read it. I just find it interesting. You know. So whatever that is, read. And hopefully you can see yourself, you'll better yourself with it, whether you're reading about nutrition, finance, because even when you're talking about this financial book, they're all connected to how you think and, you know, the whole nine. So it's great stuff. Now let's read it again. This time we're going to read it in a faithful version of the Bible, just to read it, get a different perspective, and it's good stuff. All right, chapter 2 again of Jonah. And Jonah prayed to the Lord his God out of the fish's belly, and he said, "I cried to the Lord by reason of mine affliction, and he answered me." Out of the belly of the unseen, I cried for help, and you heard my voice. For you cast me into the depths of the seas, and the currents surrounded me. All your billows and all your waves passed over me. Then I said, I am cast off from your eyes. Yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The waters encompassed me, even to the soul. The depth closed around me. The seaweed wrapped about my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars closed around me forever. Yet you have brought up my life from the ruin, O Lord my God. When my soul fainteth within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came to you into your holy temple. They who take heed to lying vanities forsake their own mercy. Goodness. They who take heed to lying vanities forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice to you with the voice of thanksgiving. I will fulfill that which I have vowed. Salvation belongs to the Lord. And the Lord spake to the fish, and it vomited Jonah out on the dry land. Are you seeing a theme here with all the different versions? But I will sacrifice to you with the voice of thanksgiving. No matter what, no matter if I don't want to do it or not, I'm going to keep I'm going to have an attitude of gratitude. I am going to be thankful. I am going to be grateful. I'm going to keep a thank you in my mouth, in my mind. I will fulfill that which I have vowed. Now, you maybe have to be a certain age to know this, but the saints, the old saints, when I was coming up, they had a song that said, I made a vow to the Lord and I won't take it back. I made a vow to the Lord. There's a hymn that says, I made a vow to the Lord and I won't take it back. No, I promised him that I would serve him until I die. I'm on the battlefield for my Lord. I promised him that's making a vow, that I would serve him until I die. Service has to do with being obedient. You and I, we cannot serve if we're not obedient. And so, as we read this text tonight, as we pull the wisdom from this text tonight and apply it to our lives, let's be encouraged to be obedient. Let's be encouraged to give in and be be in proper formation. So for our children, if you are a child listening to this or watching this, listen. You know what? It's up to you. It's up to you to listen to your mother and father and do what they ask you to do. It's important for you to listen to your grandmother, your grandfather, your uncle, or your aunt, your guardian, those who have rule over you. Now, we're not talking about doing nothing crazy. Okay? But if your mother asks you to do something, let's go ahead and let's move about it. So that we not only, so that hopefully we can be obedient children into being obedient adults. And not, being hard-headed and, all of that. Now, let me be very clear. I believe I was a pretty obedient, very, considerate, a child. But there was something that happened in my adulthood or my teenage years that I was just like, some stuff I don't want to do it. And it really had nothing to do with my parents, more so with, well, for me, God. Because I didn't think, I said, clearly, I'm not hearing properly. Clearly, you don't mean me. Had to take a sip of orange juice on that one. And now, at this age, I'm like, oh, you did mean for me. Oh, okay. Let me be obedient then. Let me be better with doing right by my vow. And I want to encourage all of us to do right by our vow. And that's going to look different for everybody because we're all called to, be us. You know what I mean? You doing you is not going to look like what it looks like for me, because we're all gifted in different areas. But you need to be obedient. Just like me. I need to be obedient. And you know what? And I'm going to tell you, listen, I'm going to share this with you. For me, it is obeying right away. It is not to think about it. It's not to, maybe do it right, quickly. And again, if we pull from this text, right, and we say, okay, what areas, that it's to obey the first time, right? Let me not, I know sometimes, we want to get confirmation, and come on here, Ed. You want to get confirmation. You want to, I need to make sure. And I'm realizing, even if I'm not sure, let me practice being obedient. You know what I mean? And not having, God, I've gotten this instruction years ago, and then it'll be confirmation from, outside, friends, brothers, sisters, and then it'll be even some new people. Personal time of sharing here. I was just last night. Went to an event, to a concert and all. It was great. So ended up talking to a good brother, brother of mine. He's like, and he's 2 years older or a year older. Anywho, and we haven't known each other for a long time. And I'm talking to him. I'm telling him, I'm like, I have this, and he said, well, brother, I don't even get upset about it. He said, because clearly you are being set up to, do what you need to do. And but you got to get out your own way. He said, because you're clearly in your way. And brother, I love you, but you need to just do it. You need to just obey. And I don't even, and I love this brother right here. I love him, like, for real. I love him. And he's like, brother, you need to just do it. And I don't know about you. You gotta have people in your life that'll call you out on your stuff and will tell you, hey man, I'll listen to you, but I'm not getting in this with you. Because you just being disobedient. You being hard headed. And we know about children, right? A hard head makes a what? A soft behind. Okay. Okay. So it's like, what you want? What is it that you want here? So again, we have to decide to, give in, be obedient. And again, whether that is, I had this idea to do this or to start this or to start researching this or whatever, is to do it. So again, as we're spending this time reading, let's not just read for the sake of reading, but to read to better ourselves, right? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We're going to read it one more time from the New Living Translation. All right. So let's read it together. And again, thank you so much for this time. Oh, have you liked this video? Have you shared the content? Comment, all the things. All right. Thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel. All the things. All right. So let's get into it for our last reading. Again, reading Jonah 2. Actually, no. Let's start at Jonah 1 and 2. Uh-oh. All right. So we're going to go back to Jonah 1 and just kind of put everything together. Because, we enjoy reading, don't we? Yes. We love reading. All right, let's go back to Jonah 1. I don't know why it does like this, but it's fine. As you see, it only has 4 chapters, so it's a bomb. It's good stuff. Oh, let me adjust that to make sure that it can all be on the screen. All right, here we go. Jonah runs from the Lord. The Lord gave this message to Jonah, son of Amittai, who we learned our first episode that Amittai was a prophet. So Jonah is already a prophet at this time, okay? Just putting that in there. Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh. Announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked its people are. So here is the command. Here's the direction from God. All right. Now, the fact that Jonah got up to go means he can hear God's voice. Isn't that something? But it's still disobedient, and we question, can we hear? That's a mess. That's a whole nother thing in itself. But Jonah got up and went in the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. Like, you can run from God. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to Tarshish. But the Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the desperate sailors shouted to their gods for help and threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. But all this time, Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold. So the captain went down after him. How can you sleep at a time like this? He shouted. Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will pay attention to us and spare our lives. Then the crew cast lots to see which of them had offended the gods and caused the terrible storm. When they did this, the lots identified Jonah as the culprit. Why has this awful storm come down on us? They demanded. Who are you? What is your line of work? What country are you from? What is your nationality? Jonah answered, I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. The sailors were terrified when they heard this, for he had already told them he was running away from the Lord. Oh, why did you do it? They groaned. And since the storm was getting worse all the time, they asked him, what should we do to you to stop this storm? Throw me into the sea, Jonah said, and it will become calm again. I know that this terrible storm is all my fault. Instead, the sailors rowed even harder to get to the ship, to the land. But the stormy sea was too violent for them, and they couldn't make it. Then they cried out to the Lord, Jonah's God. "O Lord," they pleaded, "don't make us die for this man's sin, and don't hold us responsible for his death. O Lord, you have sent this storm upon us for your own good reasons." Then the sailors picked Jonah up and threw him into the raging sea, and the storm stopped at once. The sailors were awestruck by the Lord's great power, and they offered him a sacrifice and vowed to serve him. Now the Lord had arranged for a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Chapter 2. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from inside the fish. He said, I cried out to the Lord in my great trouble, and he answered me. Notice he was only in trouble because he disobeyed God. All right. What trouble have you and I entered because of our disobedience? Let's get back to reading. I cried out to the Lord in my great trouble, and he answered me. I called to him from the land of the dead. And Lord, you heard me. You threw me into the ocean depths, and I sank down to the heart of the sea. The mighty waters engulfed me. I was buried beneath your wind and stormy waves. Then I said, O Lord, you have driven me from your presence, yet I look once more toward your holy temple. I sank beneath the waves, and the waters closed over me. Seaweed wrapped itself around my head. I sank down to the very roots of the mountains. I was imprisoned in the earth, whose gates locked shut forever. But you, O Lord my God, snatched me from the jaws of death. As my life was slipping away, I remembered the Lord, and my earnest prayer went out to you in your holy temple. Those who worship false gods turn their backs on all God's mercies. But I will offer sacrifices to you with songs of praise, and I will fulfill all of my vows. For my salvation comes from the Lord alone. Then the Lord ordered the fish to spit Jonah out onto the beach. It is interesting how our disobedience will cause us to come back to God. Not necessarily coming back to a physical place, but emotionally in a heart posture in which where we were disobedient, where we complain, we will be thankful. We will sing songs of thanksgiving, whatever that looks like for you. And so as we read tonight, thank you all so much again for this time of reading together and study and reflection. Let us all be encouraged by this book. Our next episode, episode 3, we will again read chapters 1 and 2, but chapter 3 will be our focus. But it's interesting in the ways in which Um, Many of us have been Jonah. Matter of fact, do remember. This has been many, many, many years ago. That a great apostle and a teacher of the Bible, Apostle Darrell Winston, he said every character of the Bible represents a state of the soul. So all of us will find ourselves in the state of Jonah, where we were given instructions, we were giving a mandate, and we did the opposite. We said, no, I'm good on that. But yet, life will happen that will make us do what? Do the very thing that we said no to. And so, I want to encourage us, as I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me, to get in proper alignment, to get in proper formation, that we may be lined up properly with our work, with our call, whatever that is. Formation for you, it may be starting that business. It may be marrying that woman, marrying that man. Man, I don't want to be married. You already, when you saw her, you felt that thing. You was like, I think that may be her. But I don't know, nah. All right. Okay. You saw him, you were like, I think. And then he asked you, you're like, oh no, I'm not ready. And then. Or don't be like me. It was months ago, maybe a year ago now. We were in church, and I'm at my home church. I've been at my home church for 3 years now, and it's the first time that I've been at my home church since I've been a child. And because I've always worked in other churches, and they were great churches, but I wasn't a member. I worked there, and I love that. I love the church. I was a part of the ministry, very active. I was a leader. I was most of the time the minister music and all, but I was not a member of the church. And even though I worked, I was a part of the team, and I just be honest with you, I wasn't necessarily submitted under the leadership as it relates to me personally. I hope that makes sense. Like I was submitted, as an employee. I did. I mean, I was effective in the house. I did great work. But Edwardcwright, I was like, no, this y'all church. and I kind of kept that posture so that I could remain effective. You know what I mean? Because there were some things that that I would get instruction to do that I'm not sure I was able to really obey it because, this is the pastor you are, and I respect you, but I still got my, straight from God. Kind of, I hate to say it that way. I'm just being honest. And now at my home church, I'm not the minister of music. Matter of fact, at my home church, nobody really knows me. Most of them know me as the kid. They don't really know me in ministry. Like, they don't know what I've done. And because I don't go around saying, oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. I just, I don't really say anything. And maybe a good year ago, it may have been longer, my pastor, it was a Sunday morning, the 8 o'clock service, and we were doing something, and he said, elder. I said, oh, no. Minister. I said, no. Brother. There you go. And I remember, because at first I didn't feel anything about it. I was like, oh my God, was I being disobedient, not cooperative, and not participating? And I remember I asked some mothers, and they was like, well, I mean, you weren't, but you were. You're like, yeah, you were. The pastor's clearly saying this, and you're like, no, yeah. And it's the 8 o'clock service, like you're doing this in front of everybody. Yeah, Ed. And I remember I asked him, and he was like, no, you fine. That's not what you. And I'm saying all that to say, now, all this time later, it's like, oh my God, I was. I cannot believe I just said that live like this. That freedom. Good God Almighty. Because at some point, we have to get sick of ourselves. Let me go ahead and give in. My my earnest prayer went out to you in your holy temple. And even in spite of our disobedience, God's faithfulness, mercy, and love and that is the reason, like nothing can separate us from the love of God. Nothing. Not our disobedience, not our stubbornness, not our hard headedness. God's love remains. And so with this, with saying all that, and also echoing what Dre has said, let's rid ourselves with this perfectionism thing. So that we really can operate in truth, operate and live in love, which then strengthens our faith, which causes us to work and be fruitful. So, wow, we're almost at an hour. I was trying to be 30 minutes. Oh, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you so much for you watching and all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. But I really want to encourage us to read, better ourselves, and in doing so, have an open hand approach, right? So that things can leave and also things can enter. Let's not be arrogant to think that we know it all, but continue to chase after knowledge, chase after understanding, so that it may help us with our sight and insight. So ultimately that we can, walk in love, that we can, and walking in love doesn't mean like, la, 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 we are the ones, we are the children. Like it is that to a certain degree, but it's to walk in a matter of peace and love within self so that may permeate outside. That I'm walking in such peace with myself because I know I'm in proper alignment, that I'm in proper formation, that I am walking in obedience from what from what that I received, that the instructions that I received from God. And again, it's not a churchy thing or religious thing at all. This is beyond religion. You can go to church every Sunday or every Saturday or whatever day that you worship, whether you're Adventist or whether you go to church on Sundays. You can do all that and and still be walking in disobedience. No, we're not talking about no checklist of, oh, I do this, I do this. We're not even talking about you reading your Bible every day just for the sake of reading it. There's no point in you reading it if you don't allow it to do what? Penetrate your heart. You reading it thinking that you already got it together. No, none of us do. So again, this is all about us being in proper formation. Yes? So join me in being in proper formation, getting in alignment, getting in my position. And all of our positions are not the same. Dre, he is former military. I'm not military, but I've done some study about the military. You have your different positions, and you got to play your position. Don't get in mine. I got to play my position. We all work in tandem because we're members of one body, right? We have our arteries, we have our feet, we have our legs, we have our heart, we have our mind, we have our ears, we have our mouth, we have our tongue, we have our teeth, we have our skin, we have our eyes, we have our eyelids, we have our eyebrows. They all have different functions, but they don't fight with each other either. So let's, cause ourselves to get in proper formation, whatever that means. So you obey the instruction that you get, as I am doing my best to be obedient with what I'm supposed to do. All right? All right, people. Well, listen, I hope that you've enjoyed this time, our second episode. Again, thank you all so much. Dre has been in the comments. I really do appreciate it. Again, Dre, brothers, it's always, 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 I appreciate it even more now to see you in the comments and your support. All right. Again, please like, share, all the good things, and I will see you later. All right. Peace.